Okay, my name is Jody Belfleur. I'm the CFO for Saville Resources, and I'm going to chair this meeting. I now call this meeting to order. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the annual general and special meeting of Saville Resources, Inc. My name is Jody Belfleur. I am the company's Chief Financial Officer. In accordance with the articles of the company, I will act as chairman of the meeting. Mike Hodge, the company's president and CEO, is present, and I appoint him as secretary of this meeting. Dara Hewitt of Odyssey Trust Company, register and transfer agent for the shares of the company, is present, and I appoint him as scrutineer. If anyone has not registered with the scrutineer, would they please let me know now? All right, I'll get started. Notice of meeting. The notice calling this meeting and all proxy related materials were mailed to the shareholders in accordance with the requirements of the company's articles and Business Corporation Act of BC. I have a declaration as to such mailing, which is available for inspection by any shareholder. In view of this, I will dispense with calling for reading of the notice, and I will ask the secretary to file the declaration as to mailing within the minutes of the meeting. Does the secretary have the scrutineer's report on attendance? Yes, you do.
I do.
I am proceeding on the advice of the scrutineer that a quorum is present, and I will ask the scrutineer to present a written report when it is ready. The last annual general and special meeting of the company was held on December 4, 2019. May I have a motion that the minutes of such a meeting were filed in the company's minute book and are available for inspection?
I motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
I declare the motion carried. I would now submit the financial statements for the company for the year ended April 30th, 2020, and the auditor's report thereon. The financial statements of the company for the financial year ended April 20th, 2020, consisting of statements of financial position, statements of comprehensive loss, statements of changes in shareholders' equity, statements of cash flows, together with the notes in the auditor's report are received. Now we will set the number of directors. May I have a motion that the number of directors of the company be set to 4?
I motion.
All in favor, right hand.
Aye.
All opposed? None opposed. I declare the motion carried. The next item of business is the election of the directors for the ensuing year. There are 4 directors' positions to be filled. Nominations are open for position of the director of the company. As disclosed in the information circular, management has nominated Mike Hodge, Nick Broadway, Charndiel, and Alicia Milne for election as directors for the ensuing year, or until such time as their successors are duly elected or appointed in accordance with the company's articles, or until such directors' earlier death, resignation, or removal. Each nominee has consented to act as a director. I would ask someone to formally nominate those persons. I so move.
Sorry.
I so move.
I so move.
I'm pleased to nominate the following people for election as directors: Mike Hodge, Nick Broadway, Charndiel, and Alicia Milne. There are no more nominations. I will declare the nominations closed. I declare the nominations closed. Election of directors. 4 persons have been nominated to fill the 4 directors' position. A motion that the 4 persons nominated be declared elected would be in order. Therefore, I would ask for a motion that the shareholders authorize the election of the 4 nominees by single resolution.
I also move.
All those in favor? Opposed? I declare the motion carried. I will now entertain a motion that the 4 persons who are nominated for election as directors be elected directors of the company for the ensuing year to hold office until the next annual general meeting. Mike, I so move.
I so move.
Any discussions, questions, oppositions? I declare the following people to be elected as directors: Mike Hodge, Nick Broadway, Charndiel, and Alicia Milne. The next item of business is the appointment of the auditor for the ensuing year. Do I have Do I have a motion that M&P LLP Chartered Professional Accountants be appointed auditors of the company to hold office until the close of the next annual general meeting?
I motion.
All in favor, right hand, opposed? I declare the motion carried. I will now entertain a motion that the directors of the company be authorized to fix the remuneration to be paid to the auditor. Mike, do you so move?
I so move.
I will now ask for a vote on a show of hands. In favor, opposed? I declare the motion carried. The next item of business is reapproval of the company's rolling stock option plan pursuant to which the company is authorized to grant options to acquire up to a maximum of 10% of the number of issued and outstanding shares of the company. The TSX Venture Exchange requires that the stock option plan be submitted for approval by the shareholders at each annual general meeting of the company. Accordingly, would someone please move following resolutions?
I so move.
A bit long, I'm just going to read it out quickly. Resolved as an ordinary resolution that the company stock option plan, including the reservation for issuance under the plan at any time of a maximum of 10% of the issued common shares of the company, be and is hereby ratified, confirmed, and approved, subject to the acceptance of the plan by the TSX Venture Exchange. The Board of Directors of the company be authorized in its absolute discretion to administer the plan and amend or modify the plan in accordance with its terms and conditions and with the policies of the TSX Venture Exchange. Any one director or officer of the company be and is hereby authorized and directed to do all such acts and things and to execute and deliver under the corporate seal of the company or otherwise all such deeds, documents, instruments, and assurances as in his opinion may be necessary or desirable to give effect to the foregoing resolutions, including without limitation making any changes to the plan required by the TSX Venture or applicable securities regulatory authorities, and to complete all transactions in connection with the administration of the plan.
I so move.
All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed? I declare the motion carried. Whew. We have now concluded the formal business for the meeting. Is there any other matter a shareholder wishes to raise? It appears all the business for the meeting has been concluded. As all the business for this meeting has been concluded, I will entertain a motion that the meeting is concluded. Mike.
I so move.
All in favor, raise your right hand. I declare the motion carried and the meeting concluded. Thank you, everybody, for attending the formal part of this meeting.
At this point, I'd like to open an informal discussion or any questions that anyone has about Saville.
No questions?
Michael, you're muted. You'd have to unmute yourself if you want to ask a question. Oh, I unmuted you.
Can you give an update?
Sure. We are looking to secure a private placement so that we can put a drill on the ground again. We've got a small amount of money in the bank so far, and I would like to get back to drilling. There's sort of two targets that would be priority, although we have about 20 targets that at some point I would like to get to. The two targets that I'm speaking of would be Marana and Mallard. Mallard is where we had the 2019 drill program and came back with results of like 1.1% niobium over 7.5 meters. We have it's open in all directions. So we didn't drill very deep, and that was so that we could start building our way towards an inferred resource. There's also Marana that I would like to, it's never been drill tested, and I would like to put 3 holes into it because it's where myself and Darren believe that we have the possibility of finding the highest grade niobium on the property.
Please forgive me for my ignorance in this question. I'm still not clear about what your connection is with Commerce Resources and how all of that benefits Commerce Resources and Saville.
Well, I worked for Commerce for a number of years. I was one of the first guys on the ground in that area for Commerce Resources. Commerce needed to focus on their ashram deposit, and I had just taken over a company with a gold asset in British Columbia. I knew about the niobium deposits. It's what we originally went exploring for Commerce. And Commerce, because of their needing to focus on the ashram, wasn't going to be pursuing the niobium targets. It's beneficial for Commerce because we drive news and start exploring those niobium assets in that area. So it's beneficial for both companies because there's exploration happening there. And so we would be able to share infrastructure, be able to, we've got an NDA signed stating that we would, if a road got built, that we would use the road and we would pay a maintenance fee. There's a number of benefits that would come. Darren, do you want to weigh in?
Yes, hi. That's a good question, and Mike covered a lot of the main aspects. Shared development would be a significant savings for the projects, and we do believe there's quite a sizable niobium deposit there waiting to be found. And as Mike noted, the Marana is very a very high quality target, and everything points to that as being something quite significant. So it's never been drill tested, and we need to put some holes in there. But Commerce is advancing the ashram project, and it's quite significant. World-class, if you will, rare earth and fluorspar deposit. And so it's basically the focus. So their focus is on rare earths, not on the tantalum niobium. And so in order to monetize these assets and see that potential come forward, it needs to have focused exploration work. And this is where Saville comes in. And so they share a lot of the same geological team, and that goes back to 2007 when Mike was there as well. And so there's a lot of familiarity and a focus that's being put on the niobium now. So that's a good benefit to both parties.
Just so you know, Darren Smith is the project manager for both companies for the ashram deposit as well as the niobium claim group, because he got onto that property in, it was what, 2008, Darren? We've been working that property.
Yeah, and so when we explore, we also it's a good cost sharing mechanism between the companies as well. There's a permitted camp that's there, and so it can be a quite cost effective exploration for both parties.
Darren and Mike, it's Dushan here. I think it also needs to be reminded to people that we're talking about exactly the same geographical location. Basically, we're talking about the same location. That's
correct. Yeah. So
what some people may miss. You know, we're not talking different jurisdiction or different parts of the world. It's the same area. Right?
Yeah. So
same
it's
property, essentially. Geographically.
Yeah, it's in Nunavik. It's the same collection of claims, except one part of that has been partitioned out an option to Saville, and so that's the niobium claim group. So it's within Commerce's Eldor property, which hosts the ashram deposit in the center, and it's those claims that are about 500 meters away that have all the niobium potential. So those are the ones that are being advanced by Saville and under option to Saville. And that's where it kind of really highlights the shared infrastructure of advancing infrastructure in the region. Quebec just announced their critical materials strategic plan, and one of their 5 main points is focused on joint development of infrastructure in Quebec to advance mineral assets and to build that value. And so it's a great jurisdiction. It's under modern lands claim agreement, so there's it's been de-risked. There's mechanisms for consultation and engagement, and so on. And because Mike and myself have been working in the area for so long, that the community is very familiar with us. We often we keep in touch quite regularly and so on. So there's a good rapport that's been built over that time. So when you develop an exploration project, it's not just the mineral potential that has to be there. There also needs to be that the social aspect with it as well. And so it's been well developed on both fronts for the project.
As to financing, Mike, are you looking at flow through financing as well as hard cash, or only one or the other?
Yes, we'll be looking at taking in both, especially towards the end of the year. Quebec flow through is a good avenue to take, especially for Saville, as we want to put the money in the ground anyway. We just need enough hard dollars to properly spend the flow.
Can this next phase of work be done during the winter time, or do we need to wait till spring?
Yes, it's very possible to do drilling in winter or summer. I would stick away from breakup or freeze up, just because it's just more costly. But
You don't want
yes,
soft ground.
No, and landing float planes on lakes, you can't do it unless the ice is solid or not there at all.
Right.
Okay, Mike, but the flow through money you collect in this year can actually be spent next year on drilling, I think, eh?
It can, yes.
And the year after, because there will be there's going to be an extra year for all monies, all flow through funds, all flow through shares issued in 2019 and 20 will have a 1-year extension, according to what the government is putting out at this point in time.
Federal and provincial, but that doesn't prevent.
Federal has definitely said, Quebec has come through and said they're going to follow the federal regulations. Nothing has actually been officially authorized by the government, but they've stated their intentions.
Okay, but that doesn't prevent someone like me from having a deduction in 2020, even if.
No, absolutely not. We could have, under the look back rule, we would absolutely give the tax credits for the 2020 year, but we could have up until 2022 to spend it rather than just 2021.
Okay,
No.
Thank you.
I'd like to get going though. It won't take me till 2022.
Has decision been made by management on pricing of the private placement yet?
Well, we will price it at where the market will allow us to raise funds.
At the time when you're ready to pull the trigger. Okay, thank you.
The teams that drill, they're not affected by the COVID, huh?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Hi, Mike, by the way, it's Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, I hope you're well.
Yeah.
These teams that drill and work up north there, like Darren, that COVID isn't an issue up there?
I believe it is an issue. Darren, do you want to?
I mean, these guys are close together when they're working, maybe.
In terms of the mineral exploration industry, we're considered essential, and so the workers involved in that are essential. So in terms of the actual geological teams or the drill contractors, there's COVID management plans that are put in place and various protocols and so on, and testing if required. So similar to emergency response plan, you now have a COVID management plan that accompanies your exploration programs. In Nunavik, it's sort of a separate region like the James Bay and the South Shore and so on. So they have their own sort of individual protocols. So you need to get, you need to basically go through their process then to get approval to go up. And often, this can be done with charters or things like this that want you to avoid the community and so on. And so with our camp that's there is a process that we can go through. Right now, exploration isn't happening. And so where everything stands in the winter is still to be determined. But there is a process that's laid out, and there's definitely a process in place to allow companies to exercise their trades.
Okay, but can you be shut down? I mean, were you shut down during the first part?
If you have a COVID incident, you have to stop and deal with that, put that person in isolation, but it doesn't shut down the whole project. I've worked on a few projects this year, and we've had a few people that have symptoms. We isolate that person, we get them tested. In these cases, the tests have all come back negative, and so they can get back involved. But you still practice physical distancing and all that. So COVID is an obvious risk in terms of access to the territory in some regard, but in terms of once you're there, it's not going to necessarily stop a project unless there's a big outbreak. There might be a temporary stop as that gets sorted and tested and